So the eclipse, it would just darken the Earth?
Because of where we were coming off of Antarctica. And a couple weeks before we launched the mission, they're like, hey, we've been running some numbers and we don't think it's going to work. So I open the hatch and goes right back to flush with it. I'm just looking at it and they're like, you're go for manual hatch opening. Next thing you know, you're just staring out into the black void.
Is that what you saw? Just a black void?
What I was feeling was like a very unsettling, we don't know what's out there, but it's all very hazardous to us humans. We were at 750 kilometers, so almost like double the height of the space station during the spacewalk.
Let's talk about the spacewalk.
Sure.
What was that for?
So we tested out the first new spacesuit that was made in 40 years, and SpaceX and their team of really brilliant engineers built it in about 2.5 years. And it's pretty important because people have been working a really long time to build replacement NASA suits, and it hasn't happened yet. Now, it was like, I would say, look, it was a lot closer to a min-viable product than it was something you'd walk on the moon or Mars with. But I can tell you, I recently just got an update on it, and they've already gone 2 generations beyond it, which will be cool to see them test at some point in the future. Just like I mentioned before, you can't go to space without feeling gratitude for everybody who helped you get there. And when I was, in that suit outside the Dragon vehicle, I was thinking about all the people that worked really hard to make it and test it, to keep me safe. There is nothing between me and death other than a visor. And I had no doubt that what they built was going to perform well and that someday some evolution of it would be used on the moon or Mars. And that's what's going to happen. But I guess maybe just say, like, it's a lot different than looking out the window.
I'll bet.
I was like, it's going to be it's going to be a visual thing, and it's an everything thing. You got all these sensations coming together. You're cold. We were really cold. You're using 2/3 of your oxygen supply is being used to cool you, and I think SpaceX erred on really cold because a lot of the old air-cooled suits from the 60s, all those astronauts overheated and they were sweating in their eyes. They could barely get back in the Gemini capsule. Well, we were plenty chill. You got all these pressure, changes and sensations because we were operating at 5.2 PSI. You've got exertion because you're working against a suit at 5.2 PSI. You're hearing the airflow, and then you're getting the visual stimulus, and it's all coming together at once, and it's pretty wild.
What are you walking on?
So I was on the top of the spaceship. So they built this mobility aid. They called it the Skywalker. And it's basically, they removed the docking mechanism from the Dragon and replaced it with this. It's just a metal structure to hold on to. You need mobility aids because if you're not holding onto it, you're screwed. We were just going through a series of tests with the suit to figure out its mobility and dexterity because it's not easy to move into it when you're pressurized.
How long were you out there?
The whole operation from when we vented the entire vehicle to vacuum to repress was about 2 hours and change, but I was outside for about 8 minutes.
8 minutes? Are you tethered?
Yeah. You're definitely tethered. You don't want to just float and not hold on to anything. Like we did that. People are like, well, in the 1960s, they were floating around. I was like, well, we learned not to do that in the 1960s. You can't fix something. You can't repair something. You can't build something if you're just floating in space. You need to, the goal is to figure out how to maintain points of contact and get things done where you overheat and you don't accomplish anything. So, but yeah, we were pretty limited because we had no airlock and we needed to use consumables to keep us alive outside the vehicle and consumables to repress the spaceship. And you had to maintain some fault tolerance for something to go wrong. We basically had a limited amount of time you could be outside.
The hatch is getting ready to open. You have to be, I know you jump out of planes, you're a pilot, you fly crazy airplanes. But this is different. It's different. Not a whole lot of people have been floating around out in space or left the craft. Let alone there hasn't been a lot of people that have even been to space.
Yeah.
And so, what's going through your head when the hatch is getting ready to open?
Don't screw up. I was telling you before about that great fighter pilot who was really, he's one of my best friends. He actually died in a crash about 4 years ago, but Dale Snort Snodgrass. And a lot of the attitude I have in life and everything has been being mentored by him. And I was just thinking, when I was on the launch pad, I was thinking, whatever it is, you just got to hack it. And that was a mindset from him. And then when I was getting ready to open the hatch, was just don't F this up, man. Like, it's just like, you don't want to screw up. You don't want to let everybody down who got to help you get to this moment. But I do have a funny story about that hatch. So when we started our journey training for Polaris Dawn, we were doing a lot of, we would be suspended from these offload harnesses that would replicate microgravity, and we were doing hatch drills, because pretty much the most important thing was closing the hatch. Like, you can't close the hatch, can't repress the vehicle, you probably won't survive reentry because you'll run out of air or you'll burn up. And so we were doing all these hatch drills. It was all manual. And then, SpaceX and, with all their, big bright minds were like, we just can't get this wrong. So let's build a hatch motor, take the human out of the loop. They're really big on trying to minimize the dependency on a human being. I get it. They're engineers in that, but as humans, we do like to have some control. And so they built this automated hatch motor. It probably took like 6 to 9 months to do it. And then a couple weeks before we launched the mission, they're like, hey, we've been running some numbers and we don't think it's going to work. We think there's going to be enough residual pressure coming out of your suit, venting from your suit, across the surface area of the hatch that it's going to overpower the hatch motor. So you may need to do it manually. And I was like, man, we spent so much time building on this thing for that to happen. Well, when I was there and I got the go to open the hatch, so I opened the hatch and they're like, okay, unseat it. And let's get the last of the residual pressure out. I do it. And they're like, okay, let go. And I do. And goes right back to flush with it. And I'm just looking at it. And then it was like a 2 or 3 second delay. And they were like, you're go for manual hatch opening, which was cool because you got to actually partake and do the human thing and open the hatch. And next thing you know, you're just staring out into the, just the black void.
Is that what you saw? Just a black void?
At first, until I climbed out, and then I was facing Earth. But I only had a couple minutes before we were in the eclipse, and most of the motion tests we were doing in the suit was facing away from Earth. So you're just looking out into just this dark black sky, and it definitely was what I was feeling was like a very unsettling, like almost it's a threatening environment. Like, we don't know what's out there, but it's all very hazardous to us humans, and proceed with caution. Kind of like the explorers in the 1400s, like, I may sail off the end of the earth because it's flat, or there might be a monster there waiting to eat me, but I'm still going anyway. And that was kind of the feeling I had looking out into the darkness of space.
Damn. We talk a lot on this show about protecting your family and being prepared for the worst case scenario. But there's one area of protection that a lot of us, myself included, for a long time tend to procrastinate on, and that's life insurance. I've had term life insurance for several years now, and I remember the exact moment I realized I needed it. It was right around the time my son was born. I started thinking about the mortgage, the kid's education, and all the expenses I'd want covered if the unthinkable happens and I'm not here to provide for them anymore. But having a plan in place is what actually allows you to breathe easier. If you've been putting this off because you think it's too expensive or too much of a hassle, you need to check out Fabric by Gerber Life. Fabric by Gerber Life is term life insurance you can get done today. Made for busy parents like you, all online, on your schedule, right from your couch. You could be covered in under 10 minutes with no health exam required. A lot of people assume their work-life insurance is enough, but most policies don't provide nearly enough coverage and don't follow you if you leave your job. Fabric offers affordable, high-quality life insurance up to $1 million in coverage for less than $1 a day. Fabric is partnered with Gerber Life, trusted by families just like yours for over 50 years. And Fabric is rated excellent on Trustpilot with over 1,900 five-star reviews. There's no risk, you get a 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can cancel at any time. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their family. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/srclips. That's meetfabric.com/srclips. meetfabric.com/srclips. Policies issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company, not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions. Would you remember what continent you were looking at when you walked out?
Sure. I was just coming over Antarctica, actually. I was in the very South Atlantic. I know because it was the highest radiation point of the orbit that I was out in. We were at 750 kilometers, so almost like double the height of the space station during the spacewalk. And the poles are a higher radiation environment. So my heart rate sensor burnt out from rad hits. But yeah, I remember looking at, as we came over, it was just a portion of Antarctica going into the South Atlantic.
Man,
Ascending
does time feel different? Did it feel like a short 8 minutes, a long 8 minutes, or just 8 minutes?
Time just melts away in space, no matter what. Inside or outside, it was just time just disappears. You're just always busy doing something. You're never wasting a second, and as such, like, it just all kind of melts away.
What was it like coming back in?
Back inside the spacecraft?
Yeah.
It was disappointing. I would have loved to have stayed out there more. But I had another crew member, Sarah Gillis, and she was due to go out. So I didn't want to eat into any of her time. And unfortunately, she was out the entire time we were in eclipse. So she didn't get really any view of Earth at all. But yeah, it was, we both wish we could have stayed out there so much longer.
So the eclipse, I mean, it would just darken the Earth? Mm-hmm. And so you couldn't see anything?
Right, because of where we were coming over, off of Antarctica in the South Atlantic. So if you're over Europe, or parts of Asia or North America at night, you can see all the city lights and everything, and it's gorgeous. But where we were in the orbit, it was there just wasn't much in the way of city life.
Man, what did Scott say when you came back?
Oh man, what was the first thing Kid said? I don't know. I remember once we fully repressurized and we all opened our visors. I was like,
Audio Jungle.
whatever that smell is, that's what space smells like. And honestly, it just smelled like fresh nitrogen and oxygen. But other than that, we probably all remarked about how freaking cold we were. I mean, we were shivering. We all had these core body temperature pills, and we were all cold. Yeah. But, incidentally, obviously, Kid and I were on that mission together, but our two crewmates, Sarah and Anna, they're the women who've been farthest away from Earth ever. Pretty awesome. And they're brilliant engineers. Really great people.
So when you come home, did you guys have a debrief with Elon and the crew that made it possible?
Elon wasn't in the debriefs. He was incredibly engaged in all of the major milestone meetings that lead up to a launch. So you have a launch readiness review and a flight readiness review, and it's like a full scrub of everything, including all the risks, all the open risk issues that could potentially play a part. He was super involved in that, and he showed up to the launch too. We didn't see him because we were already strapped into the vehicle. But the debriefs are usually with the engineering teams that own various components. So you'll do kind of a general crew ops debrief, and then you'll go almost system by system, and which is awesome. Like it's fun thing to be involved in and kind of share what you learn from it back to the people who are going to try and make it better and more reliable. But yeah, Elon wasn't in the debriefs, but he was definitely in all the big decision-making points leading up to launch.
What kind of questions, were they asking you? Other than the systems and stuff that none of us are going to understand, there has to be a ton of questions about what was it like.
They don't generally ask things like it is usually more technical or operational related. The first thing, which is immediately after you come back, is anything that poses a safety of flight risk to the next crew up or those that are up there on the space station that have to come home. So they'll go very specific into things that they need to know immediately. So like my first mission, Inspiration 4, the toilet broke. And it was not something we did to it. There was a line under the floorboards that like disconnected, and you had really no indication. Bottom line is like urine was just getting sprayed into the bottom half of the vehicle. It's down, kind of you. It's not like you'd see like pee floating around. It was trapped underneath the vehicle in a bad spot, and it was mixing with this chemical that accelerated the corrosion on the like the pressure vessel of the vehicle. And in 3 days, that combination of urine and that chemical actually started corroding portions of our spaceship.
Oh, wow.
So they needed to figure that out immediately because NASA Crew 2 was on the space station. They used that toilet, and that vehicle's up there for 6 to 9 months. And it's like, if the same thing happened to them, we could have a serious problem with the integrity of that spaceship. And the same thing did happen to them. And there was a lot of corrosion. And SpaceX had to immediately go to work and do a bunch of testing to make sure that hull of that vehicle was capable of surviving the conditions of reentry. So that becomes like kind of day one priority. Or something with like the parachutes or an avionics issue. Like they want to get to the things immediately that affect human life. And then some of the nice to have stuff that you don't need to figure out right away. That's like 2 weeks later, 4 weeks later, and it's kind of more technical.
Gotcha. Have you spoken with Elon since you got back?
Yeah. I mean,
what kind of questions did he have?
He didn't, I was nominated for the NASA gig, like 2 months after I got back from the mission, and it was shortly thereafter when I was at Mar-a-Lago where I saw him for the first time, and we were more talking about things like, some of the things he was trying to tackle with DOGE, where he thought that there was, inefficiency or bureaucracy that was, impeding, agency progress within the government. It was kind of conversations like that. We honestly didn't even, people assume like we talked about like Mars at all costs, forget the moon, everything else, or conversations like that. We never really did. It was just more about, kind of government inefficiencies. I don't think we ever talked about Polaris, none.
Wow. Are you serious?
He always moves on to trying to solve the world's biggest problems.
Yeah.
And he's trying to solve a lot of them across his companies. But at that time, he was trying to solve the national debt with an interest payment that exceeds the Department of Defense budget. That was his priority. So we really weren't talking about Polaris.
Yeah. No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.